Here's a peek at what guests had to say after the show.
Let's ask the questions that people want us to be asking our guests. Howard Dean, should we expect a centrist or populist campaign from Hillary Clinton? Assuming there is a campaign.
Yeah, I mean, assuming there's a campaign, I think centrist.
I agree.
I think it will be.
Oh, yes. Unfortunately, too centrist.
Yeah, but she'll get better when she gets in office.
You think so?
Think of all those Supreme Court justices.
Right, yeah, okay. Aaron Brockovich, what can individual states do to protect their freshwater resources before it's too late?
Oh my gosh, that'd be a long-winded response. Definitely follow through with your oversight and regulations. People can do a lot. They see something, report something. It's just as much our duty as it is the states to step up and be protective of our waters.
Okay. And a similar question, Willie, what can average American citizens do to make a difference in the promotion of biodiesel?
Well, you can use it. You can promote and help your local biodiesel growers, the people who grow it locally, who you don't have to buy it 1,000 miles away. Go to the farmer's market, go all these places around local and buy locally and promote your local businesses.
Hey, I forgot to mention, you were at the Grammys Sunday, right?
Yeah.
What are you singing?
Merle and Chris and I and Blake Shelton are doing The Highwayman and also doing Mama Don't Let Your Babies Grow Up to Be Cowboys. Merle is singing We Don't Smoke Marijuana Everywhere.
Cookie from Muskogee?
Cookie from Muskogee,
right.
yeah.
But now, you think he switched on that?
Has he switched?
Well, I mean, but way back in the 70s when he recorded that, he seemed like he was anti-marijuana.
Yeah, but I think that was not exactly the case.
Hey, show people. We do stuff for this show. Absolutely. We've all got our constituencies.
That's right.
We've got to play to the base. Okay. This is for Howard and Carly. Would either of you consider running for office again? Oh, that's a good one.
Never say never, but not likely.
Yeah.
Never say never, but you have to have the right opportunity.
Actually, I think both of you are well primed to do it because this country is so good at losing its shit for nothing and then like 6 months later going, oh, fuck, we really blew that one, didn't we? I can think of so many people who they just, remember Don Imus? Oh, he's got to go away. He made a joke about nappy hair or something. Okay, the guy made one bad joke. And then that happens all the time. So, Paula Dean, Howard Dean.
Wow.
Whoa.
Wow. I'm not sure I like where this went.
I have to admit she's a better cook.
No, I do think you both could run again. Okay. Howard, as a self-proclaimed deficit hawk, how much do you sympathize with the GOP's call to fix Washington's supposed spending problem?
I hate to be mean and partisan, but the GOP has no credibility whatsoever on deficits. They run them up by cutting taxes and not cutting programs.
By the way, I agree that Republicans have been equally guilty as Democrats in running up the deficits. I think that's demonstrably true. What I always find amazing is liberals' faith in big government bureaucracies, but it's a fact that government agencies have been increasing in size, getting more and more budget for 50 years. And they're completely unaccountable. We don't know how our money is spent. And in many cases, they're corrupt. Because they're not transparent.
There are actually fewer federal employees today than there were 4 years ago. That's a fact.
Yes.
But the budgets are bigger in virtually every case.
And the deficit's under control now.
Years.
We had this period of very large budgets, deficits, but now the projections are basically that the deficit's going to stay flat as a share of the economy for the next decade. And after that, all the spending growth is in healthcare. The share of federal spending on everything other than healthcare is actually supposed to go down over the next few decades. So the key challenge really over the long term is getting healthcare spending under control. But in the short term, we've lost focus on unemployment and other issues on which it would actually have been good to be running larger deficits right now. The deficit problem is a problem. It's not a crisis. It's something that we can deal with over the course of several decades, mostly through healthcare.
The size of government is a problem. Unemployment is a problem, absolutely. And I think it would be great if we would focus on job creation in a bipartisan way, and if we would focus on how is it that we hold these vast government bureaucracies like the NSA accountable when we don't know what they're doing, we don't know how they're spending our money, and how do we know that all these government employees are ethical or competent We're honest. We don't know.
That's not where the government spends most of its money, except for the Defense Department, which has a ton of employees. Mostly the federal government's basically like an insurance company. It just moves money around to people
That's
in
simply
programs.
false.
No,
That's
it's
simply
absolutely
false.
true.
The government bureaucracies are vast and powerful. What does the IRS
But they don't spend most
do?
of the money. Most of the money gets sent in checks to people. So when people talk about we need to cut deficits, what they're really fundamentally talking about is we need to send less money to grandma. We can't afford to send out unemployment benefits. We can't afford to give people Medicaid.
I mean, the polls bear this out.
Right.
People will always, if you ask people, do we spend too much? Absolutely. We have too big yes, we have too big of a deficit. What should we do? Should we increase taxes to close that? No. Should we cut spending? Yes.
What
should we cut? Nothing.
I'll tell you what.
They never want to cut anything. They think the tooth fairy is going to fix this problem.
I'll tell you what this reminds me of. If you get a big bloated bureaucracy in business, and there are a lot of them, and that big bloated business bureaucracy is spending billions of dollars, and 60% of that billions of dollars is untouchable, people will say, well, there's nothing we can do. There are vast amounts of money being spent, taxpayer money being spent on activities that are not efficient or effective in ways we don't understand, that are not entitlements, not checks.
Do you think there ever
Nobody
could be
pays any attention
a
to it.
unity ticket, as some people have suggested in the past, someone from either party, if you two ran together? I mean, weirder things have happened.
Well,
I'm just suggesting. What do you think? What do you think America's reaction would be if there was a unity ticket, someone from each party? Because that's how America started, right? I mean, the vice president used to be somebody from the other party, the runner-up.
Runner-up.
Yeah. Right.
I think what Americans of whatever political persuasion want is for people to act together in a practical way to solve problems that matter to them. And I think politicians of both parties have long ago forgotten, unfortunately, that they're there to do the people's work. They're not there to just get reelected
crazies
over
in your
and
party
over and
would
over
never
and
let
over.
them.
There's some crazies in your party, too.
There are not crazy. That is a false equivalency. To say that there are equal crazies. You know that's true.
Well, I don't know.
There are never Democrats who say things just like we heard today about,
To be fair, there was a time when there was a left wing in this party that was in this country that was crazy. It was the 70s. They were blowing up buildings. There is no real left in this country.
Exactly.
Relative to what's going on and the crazy people.
We got to be honest about where the nutsos are.
It'll go back.
I mean, I feel for you because, like, when somebody, Mike Huckabee, when he says what he said today, I'm sure you all have to answer for it.
Well, here's what I would say. It's always true that when you take an example of someone who does something wrong and you then paint an entire class of people as equivalent, that's what we call prejudice. And it's as true if you say it as conservatives as anyone else. When conservatives say stupid things, that's a terrible thing. But to then say that all Republicans and all conservatives are stupid,
I never said that.
unfair.
I didn't say that.
Your monologue at the end of the show was pretty much saying that, I would say, Bill.
The monologue at the end of the show was on a specific issue. I was saying they think they're the daddy party. They think they're the macho.
That was a pretty broad generalization about Republicans and conservatives. And by the way, you just wiped out women altogether.
I
women
disagree.
who are half the population.
I guess I'll cede you my time. You haven't got the word in
Well, there's only one political party in this country that tried to foment a debt crisis where the government wouldn't have been able to make payments that it owed, creating an economic crisis on the grounds.
And by the way, Republicans and conservatives were very split as to whether that was the right tactic. I happen to believe it was the wrong tactic.
But nearly the entire Republican caucus in the House lined up behind the tactic. Either they thought it was a good tactic or they were too afraid of too many other people within the party that they would be mad at them if they didn't line up in the tactic.
Okay.
And
Let's get high now that it's legal. Thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate your time.
Real Time with Bill Maher. Ask Bill and his guests your questions right after the show at HBO.com or on Twitter.